Hello, curious learners. So, the topic for today is cell theory. A very direct question comes in exam from this topic. Who gave cell theory and what are its postulates or points? So, let's get started. Cell theory was given by two biologists, Matthias Schleiden and Theodor Schwann. What is biologists? Biologists are scientists that study life. And who was Matthias Schleiden? To be more specific, he was a botanist. Botanist is someone who studies plants, and Schwann was a zoologist. So he studied animals. Schleiden observed that all plants are composed of cells. Similarly, Schwann observed that all animals are composed of cells. So they came together to formulate the cell theory. There are some years that are mentioned in your book when they carried out their studies. So Schleiden carried out his studies in 1838 and Schwann in 1839. Now let's come to what were the postulates of cell theory. Number 1. Cell is basic and smallest unit of life. This we have discussed already. And second, all living organisms are composed of cells and products of cells. This is also the first line of the chapter that we discussed. These are structural and functional unit of life. So what does product of cells, what does this mean here? These are basically the substances that are formed by cell organelles, manufactured by cell organelles. You can refer to them as cellular materials as well. But there was a drawback to this theory. So what was the drawback? They could not explain what from where the cells arise. This was basically what they observed, but this was something that they could not explain. They had no proof of from where the cells arise. Further, in the year 1855, another scientist came named Rudolf Virchow. What he did, he modified cell theory. What he gave was another postulate, that was third postulate, we can say, that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. He said, omnis cellula e cellula. This line basically means this only, that cells arise from pre-existing cells. How? Let's see. What happens? There's a cell, it divides and forms new cell. So how do they arise? By cell division. These all three postulates together are known as modern cell theory. This is what is usually asked. So you have to write all these 3 points in modern cell theory. But there are certain exceptions to this theory as well. Some organisms don't follow this theory. Number 1 is virus. Now this is a very complicated topic because viruses lie between living and non-living. These can be referred as borderline organisms. They don't have even something you call cell. Their body is very simple. They might have a protein outside and inside there's DNA. So that's what a simple virus is. It doesn't have any cell organelle, no nucleus, no cytoplasm, no plasma membrane. So it has a very simple body. You can't call it cell, and hence this does not follow the cell theory. There are certain other organisms like viroids. They also don't follow this theory, etc. The thing that I would like to bring into your notice is discovery of electron microscope. So what is an electron microscope? It is a microscope that is better than light microscope. Light microscope zooms up to about only 1000 times or 2000 times, but electron microscope, it can zoom up to 50 million times. So it is a better one, and it was discovered in year 1940. So this made the study of microscopic objects more easier, and hence we can explore the microscopic world. Now let us begin with classification of organisms. So the simplest way we can classify organisms is on the basis of number of cells they are made up of. So there can be two categories. Number one, unicellular, and another is multicellular. As the name says, unicellular are made up of single cell, and multicellulars have many cells. Let us take some examples of each. So examples of unicellular can be bacteria. All bacteria are unicellular. Then amoeba. This has no particular shape. Then example next would be paramecium. Paramecium is similar to a slipper you wear, so it's slipper like. Then other example is chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas is a algae. Then last example we can take is yeast. Yeast is a unicellular fungus. Examples of multicellular is simple. All fungus. So plural of fungus is fungi. Then plants, animals. Here you might learn more examples in the chapter Animal Kingdom. So here we end our first classification. The second classification can be on the basis of the nucleus. Again, there are two categories that are prokaryotes, and second is eukaryotes. So pro means old, primitive. Karyo, it's from carry on, that means nucleus. Similarly, U is true, and carry on stands for nucleus. So these are the organisms that have old kind of nucleus, not exactly nucleus. What we call it as is nucleoid. The way you hear the word, what is a cuboid? Let's discuss it. What is a cuboid? Cuboid is something like this, right? So if I break the word cube like, oid, where you'll hear the word oid, it means like. So you can remember it. So nucleoid is nucleus like. Let's discuss how. It has very basic example, that is bacteria. All bacteria are prokaryotic. Let's draw a diagram. So let's say this is bacteria. Bacteria has protective coverings, it has capsule, a wall and a membrane. And in the center of the cytoplasm, you will find the genetic material floating. So this part of cytoplasm with genetic material, this small part where genetic material is present, is called nucleoid. In simple words, we can say non-membrane bound nucleus, or you can say it is the DNA is naked. Naked has two meanings: no covering, and another meaning is no proteins. So we'll discuss about these proteins a little later when we'll come to the topic nucleus. So these are prokaryotes. Now in prokaryotic organisms we have seen there is a nucleoid, and second thing that there is no membrane bound organelle. Means you will not see any membrane inside this envelope, inside this plasma membrane there will be no other membrane. So what are membrane bound organelles? These are your endoplasmic reticulum, it has its own membrane, then Golgi apparatus, mitochondria, lysosomes, vacuole. These membrane bound organelles are not present in prokaryotes. So that's the classification on the basis of nucleus. Prokaryotes don't have any nucleus. They have their genetic material DNA naked floating inside the cytoplasm. An example of this is your bacteria. Then what are eukaryotes? Eukaryotes have a proper well-defined nucleus. Proper nucleus with two membranes envelop around the nucleoplasm. And examples are simple, your amoeba, again yeast, paramecium, and plants, animals. So these are examples of eukaryotic organisms. So these were two simple basic classifications. Human body is made up of a lot of cells, but all of them do not have same shape. Why? Because shape depends on the function the cell is performing. Let's understand this by taking some examples. Number one example we can take of smooth muscle cell. Now smooth muscle cell has spindle shape. What is a spindle shape? That is a little bulbous, little swollen in the middle, and it's tapering at the ends. That is a spindle shape. So why it is of spindle shape? So that it can form contact with nearby cells and cause contraction and relaxation. For your information, what are smooth muscles? Smooth muscles are those muscles that are not in your control. We'll discuss this in tissues chapter in detail. Next example we can take is of a neuron. So neuron or nerve cell, it is long and branched. Why? Because it has to send message from one part to another and has to cover long distances. So the message has to transfer to this long cell and can travel long distance easily. In fact, neuron is longest cell of human body. Another example we have is of ovum. So in the cytoplasm of ovum there has to be reserved material. So ovum is actually large. In fact, it is largest cell of human body. Obviously it is present in females, but it is the largest cell. Why it has to store food inside the cytoplasm? Because after fertilization, the zygote, the next generation, will obtain its nourishment from this reserve of cytoplasm. Next cell that we will discuss is sperm. So sperm cell is very small, but during the formation of ovum, there is only a one ovum that is released in females every month. So it is possible for female body to give all the nutrition to single ovum released. I hope you know the formation of these cells start during puberty. Next example we have is of a fat cell. So what happens in a fat cell? A fat cell stores fat inside it. So this is fat and this is a fat cell. So it stores fat inside it and it has very less cytoplasm. So the next cell we are going to talk about is WBC. So WBC has amoeboid shape. Oid means like, so it has amoeba-like shape, means it has irregular shape. Why is the shape irregular? For your information, let me tell you, these are army of your body. Now what happens, for example, this is your blood vessel and there is surrounding tissue and there is some infective agent in the tissue surrounding. So what will happen is these WBCs can change their shape and come out of the blood vessel and they attack this infective agent and protects you from the infection or disease. So this clears the significance of various shapes.